This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
We get it. Distractions happen. That's why we designed the fully electric, full-sized Volvo EX90 with the latest technology to keep you and those around you safe. Its two-sensor driver understanding system is designed to prevent distractions and help you stay focused. Reserve your Volvo EX90 today. Learn more at volvocars.com/US.
You want to continue to focus on the details, because the small details win games, and then the even smaller details win championships. So you want to continue to focus on the details.
In this episode of the Coaching Coordinator Podcast Champion Series, presented by Signature Championship Rings, the head coach of the 2023 Alabama 4A state champion Montgomery Catholic Knights, Kirk Johnson, joins us to explore the challenges of maintaining player focus in today's world filled with distractions. Coach Johnson emphasizes the importance of building relationships, establishing team purpose, and setting high standards. We look at Montgomery Catholic's team structure, leadership selection, and significance of creating a safe space for open communication. Coach Johnson shares insight on consistent team talks, player engagement strategies, mental and physical preparation, and dealing with the distraction of opponents.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is,
"Thank you for calling. Please listen to your list of 46 possible service options."
which is why when you choose USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable. 24/7 online service for claims, access to roadside assistance, and more, all at the touch of a button. Start getting the service you deserve. Get a quote today. Ability to receive a quote depends on membership eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
As the season rolls on, we need to keep our players focused, both on and off the field. And that's going to be the topic of discussion here today on the Coaching Coordinator Podcast Season Series. And joining me to discuss that is a state champion at Montgomery Catholic High School in Montgomery, Alabama, Kirk Johnson. Coach, great to have you here.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I'm really excited, and I'm very thankful. What you got?
Coach, this isn't an easy thing when we think about keeping players focused. Before we got going, you mentioned, when you and I were growing up, it was easy to keep our focus because there wasn't a whole lot of things distracting us. Today, there's so many distractions that kids can get lost in and get off track with. It's something we have to help them through as their coaches.
Correct. It's very difficult, man. They just have access to so many things. And the number one issue being social media. This generation is kind of one generation. Think about it. You can order something off Amazon and it'd be here in 2 days. Back when I was growing up, if you wanted something, you had to wait for it, right? It didn't come to you instantly. So this instant gratification world is difficult. So you just got to continue to build a rapport with these young men and women for that matter, and just making sure that what you're doing, they understand why you're doing it, and that they're bought into what you're doing. A lot of people just do things to do it. We try to make sure whatever we're doing, they understand that it fits our program and how it fits our program.
We're looking at this part of the year, those weeks 7, 8, 9 of the season. For some teams who play deep and win a state championship, we're really only around the midpoint. There's a long way to go. And regardless of if the season's ending in a few weeks or you have that ability as a team to make a state championship run, you have to look at, okay, how do we approach this particular week? So when you're saying we're going to do some things to keep the players focused, let's start with the off the field. What kinds of things do you and your staff do to help these guys stay focused as you're going through the school year?
Well, one of the things that we implemented that's been great for us is we do a weekly team talk. With the studies that everybody posts and different things about mental health, we wanted to incorporate that into our program. So every week on a Thursday, we sit down and we break up in our individual groups and we do this thing called Team Talk. Team Talk is the one thing in our program where it's judgmental free. You can say what you want, whatever it may be, and we talk about it. Some kids come in and ask you questions about fate. Some people come in and ask you questions about your personal life, whatever. That's our way of trying to connect and figure out who these kids are and let them know who we are. Because when you're growing up, you feel like you're the only one that ever went through this situation or the only person ever encountered this. But when you start talking to people, you realize real quick, we all go through the same things, just maybe tweaked a little differently. So that's been huge for our rapport building. And another thing is we just set a standard and we make the kids meet us at the standard and we don't drop it. That earns a lot of respect from the kids to the coaches because every player on our team gets treated the same, whether you're catching 5 touchdowns a game or whether the guy that's helping handing water out in huddles. Everybody gets treated the same. And so that helps earn respect and it helps set the standard throughout our program.
When you guys get into those team talks, is that the entire team or are you guys breaking into smaller groups?
So we do it 2 different ways. We call it mega team talk when we bring the team together. So every now and then we'll bring a panel person in and allow them to ask questions. It could be a guy who played there in the past. It could be one of our college athletes that's went on. It could be a parent, someone that's a doctor or someone that's a lawyer or someone that's a mechanic. And we do a mega team talk. We'll bring that person in and allow the kids to ask them questions. They ask them about the workforce. They ask them about just all kind of different things. Most of the time we do it and we break off in our session. Our team is split up into 6 different pod groups, and those pod groups go to each different coach. So each coach has an opportunity to have a personal 6, 7, 8, 10 kids in a session each time. So that way you get every single kid. Because some kids, you might be the O-line coach and you rarely even talk to the DB, right? You know them, but you don't really talk to them because that's not the kid you coach. So this gives them an opportunity for that to be able to happen.
Yeah, I like that you're expanding the reach of your coaches to be able to affect the kids outside of their position group or outside of their unit. Is there any way you guys go about deciding who's going to be in each of those pod groups?
Oh, yes, sir. So our first thing we do in January is we elect 6 captains and they elect their 6 co-captains. And those guys are what we call the leadership panel of our team. These are guys that we all feel are going to be probably 4 of those guys are going to merge as our 4 captains going into that season. And the leadership council is everything. They help make decisions. They help order stuff. They are the spirit pack pickers, whatever. They do a lot of different things throughout our program. And so once they've been elected, they draft their teams in the January season. So we have a big draft. I buy food. We draft them one by one. And as they're drafting those kids, they got to understand what all these kids bring to the table as far as his athleticism, because we're going to do competition things that involve his athleticism. His spiritual side, we do different things that involve Bible verses and your spiritual connection with God, and then your academic side. So all because their grades factor into the points they lose or the point they gain throughout the rest of the year. And we carry this on throughout the year. So then those 6 teams is how we do our competition. We call it competition teams, but they're the ones that circle around to the different coaches when we do team talk.
Thinking of a coach out there who hears this idea and maybe wants to get this going right now, hasn't done it all year. For you, as we go back to the beginning of the year, I mean, how do you, I guess, start to set that environment so there is that back and forth, so guys are comfortable asking questions, opening up with things that concern them, et cetera? What does it look like for you guys at the beginning when you start this?
Well, it's always awkward, especially for the newer, younger guys, right? So I'm an 8th grader or a 9th grader coming in. I don't really know anybody. I'm not going to ask any questions. But then when you see the big bad guy, the big linebacker who's got 140 tackles in the previous year, ask a question that maybe you had the same question, you just didn't ask it. It tends to make you soften up a little bit to want to ask that question going on further. And as you start doing competitions, as you start doing more team talks, you begin to open up and you begin to talk. I mean, most people, when you walk into a party and you're a guest of someone that got invited to the party, you're not going to come in there and just talking to everybody, right? But as the party moves on and people start talking to you and you start becoming comfortable, then you open up and you start having conversations and different things. And so it basically works in the same realm as that. I don't expect a 8th grade, 9th grade boy or a kid that transferred into our program the first day getting in there asking all and sharing all his personal life. I don't expect that at all. But I expect our program to be at a place where the juniors and seniors, even sophomores who have been there, they trust us enough to ask those questions. So then the room softens to allow everybody else to feel comfortable enough to ask those questions as well.
How do you prepare your staff to be able to facilitate these conversations? Are there any expectations or guidelines that you give them?
Well, yeah, the first thing is you got to hire good men. You got to hire people that, one, reflect you as a head coach. And I think we've done that at our school. We have one of the best staffs. And when we say staff, I'm not talking about X and O's because that's a very small part of what we do. I'm talking about people that are godly, people that can relate to the kids, because it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are if the kids don't want to play for you, right? You could be the best coach in America drawing up X's and O's, but if a kid hates your guts, I mean, what are you getting out of that, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing we always tell them, make sure if there's anything that's threatening to them or ourselves or anybody else, we need to take it to the council because none of us are certified enough to deal with a situation like that. But other than that, I tell them to be themselves. Make the kid understand who you are because there's some kid out there right now that's going through something that you went through. And if you can share a story or so that reflecting in your past, that kid is going to feel so much comfortable to come to you. It might be a long snapper that you're never going to talk to. It might be a quarterback who you never really talk to, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the only guidelines we give and worked out for us the last 5 or 6 years we've done it.
When is the best time in season to do these team talks?
We do it every Thursday. So we give them Thursday afternoon off, quote unquote, because we practice in the morning on Thursday. So we usually will do it Thursday afternoon. But in the off season, we do it every single Friday. So when the season starts, we do it on Thursday. But during the off season, we do it Friday mornings.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Coach, looking at keeping the focus on the practice season as you get into the later season, what kinds of things are you focused on to make sure that they're still engaged, that they're out there with as much enthusiasm as they were when they hit the field for the first time in August?
Well, man, it's really difficult. But, of course, if you're in a season like this, you want to continue to focus on the details. The small details win games, and then even smaller details win championships. So you want to continue to focus on the details. You also want to continue to give them things throughout the season that make them want to be there. Maybe it's you bring popsicles. I mean, they can go and afford popsicles, of course, but you bringing them on a Wednesday when a practice is hard, or you allow them to choose a playlist for the practice that week, whatever. You're just doing little things throughout to keep them engaged, because at our school, we plan on playing 15 games, and so that's a long time. 15 games is a long season, so you got to prepare them mentally to give them things and different things throughout the season.
If they're physically not fresh, sometimes they have a hard time keeping mentally fresh. As you look at, again, thinking, hey, we're in this for the long haul. We're playing all the way to the state championship. There's a lot of weeks to go. What do you look at in terms of the physical side and how you adjust as the season goes on?
Well, a lot of the physical part you attacked in the summer, right? In the off season, spring and summer, the more the football season itself is maintaining, because you start to get nicks and bruises from the game. And so you want to just make sure you're maintaining as far as the weight room. The mental aspect is the biggest thing, I think, in all of sports. The mental capability to be able to push through something, or the mental capability to be able to do something when you're tired. So we have a stringers program that we implement starting in January, kind of basically what we talked about, those teams. When we break up in our team, we do competitions, we do those team talks, we do mat rooms. You start to build the physical side, but you also start attacking the mental person as well. Because when you transition from the spring to the summer and then the summer to the fall, those all three different things the kids have to handle, right? I mean, because when you go from spring, when you really don't have a game, but you're in school, but it really doesn't matter, and you go from that to summer to they got all the free time in the world, but they're really busting their butt and grinding. And then you go from that to, hey, we're pulling back on workouts, but now you're a new year. You know, you were a freshman, now you're a sophomore, you were a sophomore, so on and so forth. So all that's changing. So their mental is changing daily. So you got to continue to do things and challenge them on the field and off the field so that they're prepared for all these seasonal changes that go.
Coach, we look at who's playing us at the end of the week. Sometimes that can affect focus as well, either in a positive way or in a negative way. And that could be somebody who you're supposed to beat or isn't having a great season. It could also be that team that is a big rival. And sometimes big rival makes you lose focus too. How do you approach, I guess, both those opposite ends of the spectrum when the game at the week varies as far as the type of opponent and how good they are?
Well, we don't pay attention to the opponent. What we focus on is us. We always say if we're our best selves, then we can play with anybody. Because at the end of the day, you got to minimize your mistakes or maximize your opportunities more than the other team. So we've done a good job over the past several years to really hone in and focus on what we have to do in order to beat our opponent. I can't sit here and lie to you and tell you that our kids don't go, oh, we're playing this team, or we're playing that team. But it's our job as coaches to rein them back in and make them focus on what we have to do. What does Montgomery Catholic football have to do in order to be successful? And if you continue to do that, that minimizes them focusing on what the team is that you're playing, and then more on what we have to do as our team. So there's no right way or wrong way to do that. I know that it's very difficult, like I said, because social media, maybe a kid said something to them on social media, or maybe they said something or whatever, because these people can find each other so easily. So you just try to make sure your kids understand it don't matter what they're doing, it matters what we're doing.
Coach, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing some of these ideas with us on keeping your team focused. Best of luck to you and the Knights as you look to defend your state championship here in 2024.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it for having me on, man. I'm very thankful, and if there's anything else I can do, let me know.
Here are winning edge takeaways and ideas for implementation. 1. Manage distractions and build rapport. Coach Johnson emphasizes the importance of keeping players focused amid numerous modern distractions, particularly social media. He highlights the need for coaches to build strong rapport with their players by ensuring they understand the purpose behind each activity and how it fits into the program's goals. 2. Consider implementing some type of team talk that creates open conversation. Coach Johnson discussed the implementation of his team talks, a weekly session where their players can speak openly without judgment. This initiative helps in building connections and understanding among team members, fostering a supportive environment. And 3, maintain focus throughout the season strategically. Coach Johnson highlights the importance on focusing on details and maintaining mental and physical freshness as the season progresses. He suggests incorporating small, engaging activities like bringing popsicles or allowing players to choose the music in the playlist to keep the team motivated. Additionally, he stresses the need for maintaining physical fitness and mental resilience, particularly through a structured season and preseason program. Thank you again for supporting the Coach and Coordinator podcast. As you know, we want to support coaches at all levels by providing insight into the mindset and the skill set of the best coaches. We also want to share the best tools and technology that they use, and you can find those in our 10% toolkit. The link is in the show notes. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com and follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.